Tonight on Y News. The Philippine government sets to clarify with the Indonesian authorities its announcement regarding the presence of ISIS members in the country. President Rodrigo Duterte offers 10 million peso reward for the capture of international terrorists Isnilon, Hapilon, and 5 million pesos each for the capture of the Maute brothers. Lawmakers ask the Supreme Court to nullify President Rodrigo Duterte's martial law declaration.
The Philippine National Police investigates security guards of Resorts World Manila following the fatal hotel attack last week. Shortage of classrooms and other complaints welcome the opening of classes today. And the National Kidney and Transplant Institute is campaigning for the proper care for kidney as the number of dialysis patients in the country soared to 17,000.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The government, through the Armed Forces of the Philippines, sets to clarify with the Indonesian authorities its announcement regarding the presence of ISIS members in the Philippines. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
1,200 ISIS operatives are allegedly now in the Philippines. This is according to the Indonesian Defense Ministry during an international security forum. Malacanang and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, however, won't confirm this report.
We cannot comment on specific numbers, but it is clear that the violence in Marawi is being waged by both Philippine and international criminals, and the southern part of Mindanao has long been used as a refuge by fugitives from justice from Indonesia, Malaysia, and other locations.
The revelations of the Indonesian Defense Minister is something that came as a surprise to us because, as was mentioned by senior defense officials, in truth, we don't have those numbers.
The Philippine military will coordinate with their Indonesian counterpart on how they came up with this information. The AFP adds it is still not sure as to when they will be able to fully resolve the Marawi crisis. This even after President Rodrigo Duterte said the government will resolve the terrorism crisis in the next 3 days.
Our ground commanders are the real authorities who can say when the fight will end and when every nook and cranny of the city has been freed of any armed element.
Meanwhile, the military is doing everything it can to prevent the bombing of some of the mosques in Marawi City where terrorists are reportedly taking refuge.
May kautusan din ng ating Chief of Staff sa ating mga ground commander na gawin lahat na maaaring gawin para maiwasan ito. So sisikapin natin na hindi mahantong sa ganyang klaseng pagkakataon at gagawin natin ang lahat ng ating makakaya para hindi gagawin yan.
The AFP also said there should be an established mechanism or set of protocols first before the Moro National Liberation Front can be integrated to the military. This after MNLF founding chair Nur Miswari offered his 2,000 men to help government forces in defeating terrorists in Marawi City. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
President Rodrigo Duterte offers a 10 million peso bounty for the neutralization of Abu Sayyaf senior leader Isnilon Hapilon. He is believed to be the ISIS-designated leader in the Philippines, leading the terrorist Maute group in attacking Marawi City. Hapilon also has a 7.4 million peso standing bounty from the Philippine government. Meanwhile, a reward of 5 million pesos each is offered for the two Maute brothers, Abdullah and Omar. General Eduardo Año has high hopes that this will lead to the eventual arrest and neutralization of the militants.
Security and terrorism experts advise the public on how to deal with possible threats of terrorist attacks. Joyce Balancio will tell us why.
Recent terrorist attacks in different parts of the world left the public with fear for safety and security. Experts say there are ways to protect self from threats and avoid possible attacks by helping the law enforcement agencies. Counterterrorism scholar Professor Romel Banloy says it's difficult to identify terrorists based on their appearance and nationality. They can be identified, however, through their actions.
Kung nakita ko kayo na hinala, kung nakikita mo na kung saan tumitingin, tinitingnan kung safe yung location niya. Tapos uneasy siya, kung di siya professional, very uneasy siya at pabalik-balik siya sa isang lugar. Kung saan gusto niyang iwanan yung bomba o gusto niyang mag-mount ng terror attack.
Professor Banloy says terrorists are different from criminals in a sense that ideologies and spiritual beliefs may be the motives behind their attacks. They usually target public places like malls, hotels, bus and train stations, seaports, churches, mosques, and other places where people gather for religious events. In times of terror attack, experts advise the public to immediately find a secured exit.
Ang una kong tinitingnan, saan ba ako pumasok at saan ba ako pwedeng lumabas. So titingin mo dyan siya ng fire exit kasi normally ang fire exit madaling lumabas doon. Tapos kung mataong lugar, saan ba ang lugar na pwede kang tumakbo na mas mabilis o safe place. Dapat ma-identify mo yon.
For security expert Bong Oteza, the public can help in gathering intelligence information by directly reporting to authorities any suspicious persons or activities.
Intelligence that not only pertains to military or police or any law enforcement agencies na information. Even the most plain and simple na magsisigarilyo or yung barker o tricycle driver etc. Pumapasok yan na i-screen out yan for the intel.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines meanwhile advises the public to remain calm and let the proper authorities handle the situation.
That is actually what's happening here. We're overreacting. We should not overreact. We should be calm, we should be rational, we should be logical whenever there are events like this.
The Philippine National Police, on the other hand, urges the people to report to the nearest police station any suspected terrorist activity. Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Let me just tell everybody that I have declared martial law for Mindanao.
7 lawmakers from the lower house of Congress have asked the Supreme Court to nullify the declaration of martial law and the suspension of the privilege of writ of habeas corpus in Mindanao. Roderick Mendoza discovers why.
7 lawmakers are asking the Supreme Court to nullify President Rodrigo Duterte's martial law declaration in Mindanao. In a petition filed today, Congressman Ed Selagman, Tomasito Villarin, Gerry Alejano, Emmanuel Billones, Teddy Bagilat Jr., Raul Daza, and Edgar Erice insist that the declaration has no factual basis. First, they allege that there is no revolution or invasion in Marawi City or any part of Mindanao. They say that no less than the military admitted that the armed conflict in Marawi is a result of an operation to capture Abu Sayyaf leader Isnilon hapilon. Maute Group's aim in fighting government forces is to shield hapilon and not to overrun Marawi and remove its allegiance from the Republic. The lawmakers add that the facts in the President's report submitted to Congress justifying the declaration are either inaccurate or false. For instance, the report said that Maute Group had attacked Amay Pakpak Medical Center, but it was denied by the hospital chief and the PNP spokesperson. It also said that terrorists bombed Marawi Central Elementary Pilot School, but it was denied by DepEd officials. The president also reported that the police chief of Malabang Lanao del Sur was beheaded, but days after, the officials were faced alive. The petitioners also said that the martial law declaration is defective since there was no recommendation from Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana or any other ranking military official. On its part, Malacanang says the petitioners have the right to bring the issue before the Supreme Court.
That's a prerogative to do so. However, the report has been submitted to Congress already regarding the matter, and so let's see how it unfolds.
Some senators also agree that the issue be brought before the Supreme Court.
Para makita talaga yung dahil madagdagan yung jurisprudence dyan sa martial law dahil ilang kaso pa lang ang na-decide mula nung naipasa yung 1987 Constitution.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, has ordered Resorts World to submit all its CCTV videos inside its casino and even at the Maxim's Hotel. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
The Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, will look into whether there have been negligence on the part of the management of Resorts World Manila. This is in line with the attack last Friday on its casino that left 38 people dead, including the gunman. The move is part of the investigation of PAGCOR as a regulatory body. PAGCOR will determine in the probe the possible negligence on the part of the management of the hotel casino complex.
So we're looking into one, their security systems, if there was leniency or laxity or negligence, and two, on the fire, managing the fire situation.
If the gaming facility will be proven to have committed negligence, PAGCOR can suspend its license to operate casinos across the country. Aside from security and operation, the agency is also implementing measures against gambling addiction. PAGCOR has already prohibited about 400 individuals from entering gaming facilities.
Minsan sila mismo nagpapaban sa sarili nila. Sa amin din mismo, binaban namin sila.
The Department of Tourism, meanwhile, says the incident at Resorts World should serve as a warning to other establishments.
When you have a multi-facility like that, it's incumbent for us to be able to review it because people just love to visit facilities like that.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre confirmed that he ordered the National Bureau of Investigation to conduct DNA tests on the remains of Jesse Carlos, the gunman who attacked Resorts World Manila last Friday. Aguirre says this is to dispel doubts on the identity of the suspect as already established by the PNP through the family. On Sunday, Aguirre ordered NBI to conduct a parallel probe on the attack and determine possible liabilities of some government officials and of the casino's owner and management.
The Philippine National Police has begun its investigation on security guards of Resorts World Manila following the attack last week. Grace Casin explains why.
Edwin Siriaco is one of the security guards who had an encounter with the Resorts World Manila gunman. He was teary-eyed as he recounted the experience early dawn on Friday. He says he couldn't shot the gunman because there were civilians around.
Hindi po natakot, ma'am. Tingnan ko po yung paligid. Marami pong tao, ma'am. Pwede pong, pag pinutukan ko yun, ma'am, pwedeng lahat ng masalubong pagbabaril na gano'n. Hindi pa napasok mo kasi. Yun lang po nasa isip ko, ma'am.
The PNP Supervisory Office for Security and Investigation Agencies, or SOSHA, will investigate, among others, the possibility that the security personnel inside Resorts World Manila failed to follow the rules. It includes the alleged lack of coordination between the in-house security personnel of Resorts World Manila and the personnel of NC Lanting Security Specialist Agency, the official security provider of the hotel casino.
The agency involved is NC Lanting. So, nag-start yung investigation namin in the aspect of administrative rules that may have been violated.
Which should have prevented yung incident?
Not necessarily, but more on whether there were rules in the security operations na na-violate, which may lead to either cancellation or revocation of license.
It was also unclear who really shot the suspect. It can be recalled that RWM COO Stephen Rayleigh claimed that it was one of their in-house personnel who shot the suspect, identified as Jesse Carlos. But based on the rules of SOSHA, any in-house security personnel is not allowed to carry firearms, especially if the agency is accredited under SOSHA.
The question there is whether they were allowed to wear special uniforms by SOSHA.
Were they allowed po ba?
At the time, they were not allowed. So yun yung sasabi natin na isa sa mga security lapses, security violations. Kasi nire-request yung special set of uniform. Why? Because somehow yung kanilang clients may also be requesting that they wear other set of uniform.
Ensilanting Security Specialist Agency might face revocation of license and penalties not lower than 50,000 pesos if proven to have committed lapses. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
A transportation group protested earlier in front of the Office of the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Pinagkaisang samahan ng mga tsuper at operator nationwide or piston asked two things from the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board during their protest earlier today. One is to have a dialogue with the agency and the other is to have a copy of the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines or OFG. This is to assure that no phase-out for 15-year-old jeepneys will happen.
Para hindi tayo mag-speculate, show us the document. Yun naman yun di ba? Okay. So wala silang kailangan itago, ba't di na kami bigyan ng copy?
LTFRB board member attorney Eileen Lizada faced the group and asked its president to talk with her in the office. However, San Mateo refused the offer after failing to have a copy of the OFG which the Department of Transportation is set to sign on June 19.
He's insisting kasi for a copy ng OFG. Ang sinasabi namin, it is not yet a public document kasi hindi pa siya na-finance. Once it is signed and published, then pwede na namin ibigay.
LTFRB assures that it has not released a circular regarding jeepney phase-out.
LTFRB has not issued and will not issue a circular. Ang merong phase-out, ang PUB, buses, taxi, UV, school transport service, yan, merong LTFRB memorandum circular phasing them out. Now, show me an MC that faces the PUJs, wala.
In the end, the two sides agreed to have a dialogue once Piston receives a copy of the OFG. Lizada says the government is willing to listen to their concerns.
Government will always remain open sa mga ganito.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Next on Y News. The Department of Education reminds school authorities to immediately address cases of bullying.
And the National Kidney and Transplant Institute reports a rise in the number of dialysis patients in the country.
Y News, we'll be right back. Unlike last year, the Oplan Balik Eskwela Information and Command Center of DepEd have received more complaints and concerns from parents and students via social media this year. Aiko Miguel explains why.
From 7 in the morning until 6 in the evening today, the command center received about 61 complaints via Facebook and 34 walk-in complaints. DepEd explains the increase might due to its intensified campaign and the launching of regional command centers. Many of the complaints were about the enrollment process, senior high school concerns like the voucher program and school policies. There were also questions about basic education resources like chairs, textbooks, and classrooms. Meanwhile, the Alliance of Concerned Teachers or ACT held a protest in front of the DepEd Central Office to call for an increase in the salary of teachers and employees of schools and for allocation of bigger funds for education. DepEd, meanwhile, says a huge chunk of the fund allotted to education will go to the construction of additional classrooms.
Bagamat hindi pa natin nakukuha ito, pag nakita po ninyo ang budget, yung percentage of increase, for example last year, the budget of DepEd is more or less 410 billion. It increased to more or less 543 billion.
Meanwhile, since the command center opened on May 29, there are a total of 701 complaints submitted until today. Many of walk-in complaints have reported their problems regarding the transfer of their children to other schools due to lack of permit or accreditation of the schools where their children previously enrolled. DepEd advises parents to immediately inform them about such a concern so it could immediately act on it and for their children to be immediately transferred to a better school. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The Department of Education in Surigao del Norte begins accepting students from conflict-affected areas in Mindanao even without documents. Meanwhile, a number of problems welcomes opening of classes in some schools in the provinces. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
In Surigao del Norte, DepEd in Surigao del Norte begins accepting students from conflict-affected areas in Mindanao region. Displaced students can be accepted even without credentials or documents as long as they present proper school ID from previous school.
We are still waiting for other enrollees coming from other places, or especially ang Mindanao ngayon, ML, yung mga disturbed sa Marawi, bakang iba dito. So we have to cater them.
Meanwhile, repairs are almost done for schools in Surigao del Norte affected by the earthquake in February this year. DepEd Surigao del Norte Assistant Superintendent Oscar Masuhay says, despite the recovery, the province still lacks classroom, chairs, and equipment for the total number of senior high school enrollees this year.
Yung sa senior high school namin, kasi talagang kulang kami ng classroom kasi hindi pa natatapos yung mga buildings na ginagawa ng DPWH. Kaya ang ginawa po namin, nagkuha na lang kami ng shifting morning and afternoon to cater all our students in grade 11 and in grade 12.
In Baguio City, Education Undersecretary Alberto Muyot assures enough funds for new classrooms and for the recruitment of new teachers as he visits Baguio National High School today.
We have a very big increase in the budget for 2017, 32%. From 410 billion, we're now up to 540 plus billion. And a lot of it will go not only to hiring of new teachers, but also for construction of new schools.
The official was welcomed by a protest action by students appealing for more improved facilities, increase in teachers' compensation, and to show their opposition to the implementation of the K-12 program. And in Batangas, students are crowding inside 11 classrooms in Mabini Central School. This is because the 22 other classrooms damaged by the earthquake in April are still undergoing repair. Some classes conduct lessons in the library or inside the clinic as the school management struggles to accommodate its more than 8,000 new enrollees. The school administrator appeals to the government for immediate assistance and action.
Sa central office, nawa po'y kami ay mabigyan agad ng mga classroom na gagamitin ng aming eskwela upang lalo pong maging handa ang paaralan sa pagtuturo, gayon din po ang mga guro dahil alam po na ninyo na ang pansamantalang tinitigilan po ng mga bata ay hindi po ganun ka-conducive na kung saan po ay napakainit po dahil nga po siksikan sila.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Education is planning to construct high-rise school buildings. Nel Marie Buhok explains why.
Department of Education Secretary Leonor Biones expressed confidence that their preparation has been enough for the smooth opening of classes today. But despite this, shortage of classrooms remains inevitable. From the target of 107,920 classrooms, only 55,680 were constructed. Metro Manila is still short of 18,000 classrooms based on the ideal ratio per class, which is 40 to 45 students per classroom per shift. The reality is 60 students per classroom per shift. DepEd wants to resolve the problem on land for the construction of buildings.
They found out that yung palang pagtatayuan ng building ay meron pang existing noon nung nakaraan na single story, so it has to be demolished and the ground has to be prepared.
According to Secretary Briones, they also plan to construct schools outside urban areas.
We're thinking of building school communities outside of urban areas. We're thinking of high-rise buildings. Kung high-rise buildings, the financing will be so heavy, we will need the help of local government units.
DepEd currently is studying the locations where schools may be built and make them resilient from calamities. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The opening of classes in Marawi City may take longer than expected. The Department of Education estimates that around 20,000 students may have been affected by the Marawi crisis. Many of these students have transferred to Iligan City and Cagayan de Oro City to avoid getting stranded in conflict. The DepEd says that although they don't have the exact figure, many school buildings were destroyed in the conflict.
Siguro hindi yan magagawa in just a few months kasi alam naman natin na maraming bahay, mga residences na mismo nasunog at saka nasira. At saka it will take time for people to get over their anxiety and their trauma.
Public schools in Makati and Taguig City will be adopting a stricter policy for parents in sending and fetching their children to and from school. Joanano explains why.
More than 9,000 kindergarten and grade schoolers are back to school beginning today at EMS Signal Village Elementary School in Taguig City. And to ensure the safety of these pupils, the school principal ordered the installation of closed-circuit television cameras in strategic locations in the school. Several police and security personnel are also deployed in the school grounds.
To monitor the entrance and exit of all people coming in and coming out of the school. Ganun yun. Tsaka yung mga hindi naka-uniform na mga bata, pag ganun, hindi namin sila pinapapasok. Kasi no ID, no entry ang ini-impose namin policy.
Another measure that some public schools in Makati and Taguig cities are taking is the stricter policy for parents to fetch their children, especially those in kindergarten and grade 1 levels, to and fro the school. East Rembo Elementary School is just one school in Makati that adopts the said policy. Even went further by having those in grades 2 and 3 to also be brought to and pick up from school. 4 security personnel are on a daytime shift and 2 are on night shift to make sure that this policy is observed. Students in grade 4 and up may come and leave the school on their own.
Ang mga bata isi-secure natin. So, hindi natin sila binibigay sa hindi talaga nila sundo, sa mga parents lang. So, kailangan, tinitingnan din kasi may securities din na provided ang city government. Mahigpit po lalo na ngayon kasi marami po ang mga bata natin dito.
Some parents, on the other hand, opted to just wait for their children until the class ends. This gives them the assurance that their children are safe in school and that it also saves them time.
Para safe sila. Kasi mahirap yung panahon ngayon. Maraming mandurukot.
Pag nasa loob naman sila, hindi talaga nila pinalalabas yun. Talagang antay nila yung magulang pag-uwian na.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
The Department of Education reminds school authorities to act on cases of bullying in their campuses. Monokson tells us why.
Rizal High School in Pasig City is one of the most populated schools in the country. Over 11,000 students have entered the school in today's opening of classes. Due to the large number of students, bullying has become one of the serious problems in the school. One senior high school admitted that she lost interest in school, being a victim of bullying by her classmates. Her classmates used to bully her because of her height.
Naiisip ko po nun, parang ayoko na po pumasok nun kasi nga po, lagi na lang po ganun yung ginagawa sa akin. Tapos parang sobrang lungkot na po.
The school guidance counselor is worried because most of the cases of bullying happen on social media or cyberbullying, and not face-to-face or the actual bullying within school premises.
Nung last school year, ito na yata yung pinaka-worst na yung cyber. Through media rin, yung sa pagko-computer nila. Social na sila ngayon. Nakakabuo sila ng mga yung mga gang nila. Ang recruitment through online.
According to a psychologist, parents should always check on their children to know if they have problems. Parents should always be observant if there are sudden changes in the behavior of their children. Some signs that a child is being bullied is the repeated loss of belongings, loss of interest in school, and staying up late at night.
So try to be very observant as a parent. Be responsible enough na sabihin mo na check on them. Hindi masama na chine-check ang mga bata. Ang masama, yung huli mo na nang malaman na may nangyayari ng hindi maganda sa anak mo.
The Department of Education reminds school administrators to act on complaints of bullying in their campuses. DepEd has provided a clear directive on how to address any act of bullying.
That's bullying kapag paulit-ulit at napapahiya ang bata, yung kapag tinatago ang gamit at pinagtatawanan yung bata, akala ng iba walang kaso pag ganon. Yan po ay klarong-klaro sa ating DepEd Order number 40, Child Protection Policy at yung implementing rules and regulation ng Anti-Bullying Act of 2013 na ating pong ipinapatupad ng mabuti na yan ay bawal.
Year 2013, when the Anti-Bullying Act was passed into law and served as the protection of children who experience bullying in schools. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The Department of Foreign Affairs has installed a total of 50 new data capturing machines to its Asiana branch in Pasay City. Maki Libradilla tells us why.
The Department of Foreign Affairs says the additional machines would help in the faster processing documents of applicants. Long lines of applicants at the DFA Asiana Consular Office in Pasay had been a problem due to the slow processing of passports. But now, the process is way faster than before, according to some applicants.
Mas okay po ngayon. Mabilis naman ako. Nag-walk-in lang ako pero mabilis naman po yung nila. Pinapasok po kami agad, tapos pinapo po kami dyan, and then pinapila po kami dito.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano says the faster process is due to the new equipment being used for the recording of applicants' details. The DFA says it can now accommodate an additional of 1,000 applicants every day.
30% ang dinagdag sa capacity. From 2,300 a day, kaya na ng 3,300 a day.
The DFA will observe the performance of the new equipment for 1 week. If the number of processed passports further increases, the DFA plans to approve more passport appointments in the future. But Cayetano says even people from provinces like Batangas, Laguna, Cavite and Bulacan are coming to their office in Pasay City. This is why the DFA Secretary notes it's high time to open branches in provinces to decongest the Pasay branch. The fund will be sourced from processing fees.
So pag yun ang ginamit, pangbukas ng mga bagong opisina, pangdagdag ng makina, revenue neutral kung tawagin natin. No? Ibig sabihin, walang kikitain ng gobyerno, pero wala rin halos ilalabas.
Cayetano hopes the law that extends passport validity to 10 years will be enacted before the year ends. Maki Libradilla, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
A Filipino fisherman who got stranded at sea for almost 2 months admits he lost hope that rescue would come. Rajer Adora tells us why.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BIFAR gives a new fishing boat to fisherman Gino Horolan. Horolan is the fisherman from Davao Oriental who got stranded at sea for 63 days. Gino says his boat could no longer carry the weight of his fish catch that it eventually capsized.
Tapos natagbaw na ko, tinawag sa ilaha para makatabang ila sa kuha. Ito na ano jud ko, wala jud ko nakit kaya ilahar kong pasagdaan nanto naabot ko sa anang lugar.
Fish heads thrown by birds in his boat made him survive the sea for more than 2 months. He says he even reached Indonesia.
Naabot ko diya sa Indonesia. Upat ka patrol nila nga ilahalang kong giagi-agian, wadyo ko nila kuha mga pagkabuntag na po.
Until he reached the island of Palau. The fisherman who saw Horolan immediately rescued him. Horolan arrived home on May 19 with the help of Palau President Tommy Remengesao. Rajel Adora, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
President Rodrigo Duterte toured a Japanese Navy helicopter carrier docked in Subic port on Sunday as part of its 4-day goodwill visit to the Philippines. Japan's largest warship, the Izumo, has been sailing around Southeast Asia since May, stopping over in Singapore, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. Duterte, who had recently canceled a scheduled trip to Tokyo due to the ongoing military clashes in the southern Philippines, vows stronger ties with Japan and has promised to be an ally for all time.
Japan has been a very helpful friend. Our ties with Japan are historical, and I know that we will be with them for all time. They can count on our gratitude for helping us and also our friendship to fight with them. We have so many problems in this world.
The National Kidney and Transplant Institute is campaigning for the proper care for kidney, coinciding with the observance of the National Kidney Month. Ray Pelayo explains why.
Dialysis patients in the country has now reached to 17,000 individuals according to the record of the National Kidney and Transplant Institute or NKTI. Among the top reasons for the condition are diabetes and hypertension. NKTI says the kidney disease is one of the most expensive diseases in the world.
It's cost more than breast, colon, lung, cancer combined.
In NKTI alone, around 120 patients a day undergo dialysis treatment.
Some patients on dialysis, almost like 10%, 5 to 10% every year ang increment niya na tumataas sila.
Gigi has been under dialysis treatment for 3 years now. She travels from Rizal 3 times a week just to be in NKTI.
Sa high blood, wala naman akong diabetes eh. Yun ang sabi ng doktor.
PhilHealth pays for her dialysis session for 8 months. She has to pay an extra 5,000 pesos every session for the remaining 4 months to complete a year of treatment. NKTI explains that it would be better to undergo kidney transplant. However, there are only few donors. Brain-dead patients are potential donors, but their relatives usually reject the request.
They're dead, and yet they can extend the lives of others.
Gigi also plans to undergo transplant, but she couldn't get a donor even from her relatives. She also considers the cost of operation that could reach up to 1.5 million pesos. Currently, PhilHealth's Z package will pay around 600,000 pesos of the transplant cost.
Hirap pilitin. Kaya ako na lang magsasakripisyo.
Meanwhile, Grace feels better now 8 years after her kidney transplant operation. Her kidney shrinked due to frequent eating of junk foods, instant noodles, and less intake of water. She now spends 16,000 pesos monthly for her maintenance medicine.
Malaki yung pagbabago na kaya ko nang gumalaw mag-isa, hindi tulad po sa dialysis patient na kailangan talaga may kasama.
Experts say kidney diseases may be prevented through exercise and eating fruits and vegetables. And you may more than a millionaire if your kidney functions well. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Those are the reasons behind the news. June 5, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know. We will always ask why. Thank you for watching. Why News.